Hi everybody, this is Marin with Yoga EVO, and today I want to share with you how you can improve your advanced yoga poses. This is often a common place that people get really excited about when it comes to yoga. They want to be able to do the inversions and the handstands and just look really cool doing it. But without the right foundational base for these movements, it's really easy to injure yourself or stunt, aka plateau, your ability to progress forward. So today I'm here to show you some foundational movements that you can do to get to some of the more advanced poses. Before we begin, I've got my Yoga EVO yoga mat set up here. I've got my yoga towel folded because it's not just for sweat. It actually comes with a variety of uses that we'll be getting into here later. I also have my Yoga EVO yoga wheel, which I'll be showing you could be helpful in some of these poses while you're building up to them. So the first thing I want to start with is a crow pose. It's not an inversion, but it is a very fundamental strength pose that will allow you to have the ability to get into inversions more easily and safely. So in order to begin, we're going to come down onto our mat, nice and deep in a squat. Maybe you can't get this far, or maybe you're on your toes. And this is where something like, say, the Yoga EVO towel comes into place, because you might be able to place your heels under them, fold it a little higher so that you have something to rest on if you can't come all the way down. This is great so that you can focus on actually getting deep in your squat and getting centered with your balance instead of fighting with your muscles. But it is a great place to focus on getting in that deep squat, getting all these leg muscles stretched out. It just comes with simply doing them very gently and consistently. So down in our deep squat, we're going to place our hands on the ground in front of us. Go ahead and stretch that neck out by dropping it forward, reaching out as far as you can. Head's in a neutral position, nice deep breaths. Now, a common thing I see with new yogis trying to do the crow pose is they'll get their elbows bent like this, and then they'll bring their knees sort of up and hold it. And that's all fine and good when you're getting started to build some of that strength and get the feel for it. But a proper crow pose really comes with core stability and balance. And the way that you want to get into this is place your hands in front of you about shoulder width apart, lift or stand, as you see me doing here, placing those knees right behind the armpits. And it's going to feel a little weird at first. It might not feel like you're going to be able to lift yourself up, but the truth is you're not looking to lift, you're looking to tilt. So this is what I mean by it. Placing your hands on the ground in front of you, you're gonna lift your toes up, bringing those knees right behind the triceps or right behind those armpits. And the idea is to shift your weight forward. So just feel how that feels, then shift back. And a lot of people complain that they might fall on their face. You want the weight to actually move from the base of your hands into your fingertips, gripping it tightly. Do this slowly and do this consistently before you get into rushing into the pose, because we don't want you to fall on your face. So if you can feel that shift of the weight coming into your hands, really grip the ground with your hands. This is where you start to build the fundamental core strength for the crow. So eventually you might lift a foot, bring it down, lift a foot, bring it down, and come down to rest for one repetition. Ease into it, feel where your body's at. It might feel really tough, or you might feel like you need a lot of strength to do that. I promise you, once you get into crow pose, it doesn't take that much strength. It's just building the foundational strength to begin with. When you get comfortable with lifting your toes up one by one, you can then focus on rocking forward and lifting both feet up into crow. And it's gonna look a little something like this. One foot, then the next. And as you can see, it's just a balance, and I can hold this for a really long time because my core now shifts its weight over my hands. My hands are at full extension, literally locking myself into place. And you just want to focus on breathing deeply and keeping that core nice and tight. So practice that and see how well you do in improving your crow. Now for the next advanced pose we're going to move into, we're going to be doing headstands. Headstands, I feel, is one of the best ways to really understand what inversions feel like with a good solid base. I'm also going to be using some of my tools like the yoga towel and maybe even the yoga wheel. And if you do feel a little funky or like the blood's rushing to your head or you feel like it's a little uncomfortable, that's completely normal to start, which is why we're going to use our yoga towel. So if you're not used to it, you might add a little more cushion and support by bringing in a towel. The next thing you want to think about is your base. Typically what I find is that if you're larger or a male with broad shoulders, you like to do what I call the head cradle base. And for some reason, it seems a lot easier for people who have a heavier top half or heavier shoulder base versus, say, females who tend to have a wider hip base. I find that the tripod is what works best. But play around with it. I'll go ahead and show you. The head cradle, you would place your head right here, and the tripod forms between your head and your elbows. Otherwise, you can place your head on the ground and bring your palms right in front of your knees. Be careful not to bring those hands too close to your head, otherwise it's not a wide enough base. You want to form a triangle between your head and your hands. If you are doing the head cradle, this is where the yoga wheel comes into place. You can place the yoga wheel right behind your head and use it for something to grab onto, pressing that wheel into your head. And as you can see, that's going to extend your base about twice as far, the distance, which is going to help you feel like you have more control and more stability in your headstands. But again, play around with it and see what works best for you. I also recommend maybe bringing your mat up to a wall and doing it against that, just in case you tend to tip or fall over, you'll have the wall there to catch you. But I hope that in learning what you're about to learn, you're going to learn how to build core stability and control so that you never feel like falling. So let's go ahead and begin. Choose your base. Place your head on the ground, and what we're going to do is we're just going to tuck our toes and lift. Feel what it feels like to have pressure and weight on your head, then come down. You can even come down to child's pose in between every repetition, and when you're ready, do it again. Once you've lifted and you feel that pressure on your head and you're okay to go more, then feel free to walk your feet towards your face. It's going to look a little something like this. As you can see, if I lift my toe, it's super easy to come off the ground. There's no kicking, there's no falling, there's no risk of losing our balance. All the weight is forward and it's being controlled by the hands. This is because the tailbone or the spine begins to shift from this downward position where most people tend to kick up, and it's very precarious and not safe. And it shifts, bringing that tailbone up over the entire spine, stacking. And if you see, if I lift my leg, it comes off so easily. This doesn't take much strength. The weight literally shifts over each other, making it very easy to stack or to stand up straight. So if you're getting started, you might walk your feet forward and bring one knee up to the elbow. Really put that pressure into your hands and maybe bring the other knee. And then you can focus on just practicing here and coming down into your child's pose in between. When you feel more confident with bringing the knees up to the elbows, then you can maybe bring them together, lifting your tailbone over your torso. There's still no fear of falling here because all the weight is forward. So if you extend your legs or if you feel like collapsing, all the weight is forward and you'll still come back to your starting position. Eventually, you can feel free to move more easily into a full extension. This is where you might bring yourself up to a wall. I personally like to move around here. This gives me control, and it allows me to also build my core a little bit and feel my way around the inversion. Coming back down and extending into child's. So play around with it. Don't push yourself too much. You will build up to it and your body will eventually get used to it as you go on. So that is it for today's advanced yoga poses. This is mainly focusing on core balance and stability, as well as inversions. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you take time to practice it, because getting inverted and doing advanced yoga poses is really fun and has amazing benefits as well. I also hope you enjoy your Yoga EVO towel and your Yoga EVO yoga mat. If you get a chance to get your hands on the wheel, we've done some videos for that. It's absolutely amazing. It's a great way to open your hips and back, relieve a lot of stress and a lot of pains and aches. So check those out. And as always, thank you so much for joining me here. I hope you enjoyed this. Namaste.